Aaliyah settled into her cramped economy seat, heart pounding. At 27, she had flown only once before, under tragic circumstances. Now this second flight was a hopeful new beginning, carrying her toward a job interview that could change her life. As the plane roared into the sky, Aaliyah whispered a prayer for better days ahead. Suddenly, a shrill cry cut through the cabin's quiet. A baby was wailing, the sound sharp with distress. Aaliyah opened her eyes and leaned forward. Just a few. Rows ahead at the first-class divider, a well-dressed mother in a cream suit was frantically bouncing a red-faced infant. The baby's tiny fists flailed as each scream rose higher. The mother looked exhausted and near tears, a damp stain spreading on her elegant blouse where milk or formula had spilled. Passengers exchanged irritated glances. A businessman muttered about getting some quiet. Still, the baby wailed, relentless and heart-wrenching. Aaliyah saw the mother's face crumple in helpless worry. She tried a bottle, but the infant refused it and only screamed louder, the mother's shoulders sagging in defeat. Each of the baby's cries struck a chord deep in Aaliyah's chest. She remembered nights pacing the floor with her own baby girl, Serafina, cradling and singing until the cries subsided. That was before an illness stole Serafina from her at just 4 months old. Even a year later, the pain was still there. Hearing this infant's wail, an ache of empathy and longing swelled inside Aaliyah's chest. Her body even remembered. She felt a faint, familiar tingling in her breasts, a ghostly reminder of nursing her daughter. Another sharp cry and a choked sob from the mother spurred Aaliyah to action. She couldn't just sit by. Unbuckling her seatbelt, she rose and made her way up the aisle. Several passengers watched with curiosity as the young black woman from coach moved toward first class with gentle determination etched on her face. Near the curtain, a flight attendant stepped forward as if to stop her, but before she could speak, the elegant mother in the cream suit turned, eyes shining with tears. She saw Aaliyah standing there and seemed to sense that this stranger wanted to help. The attendant hesitated, and in that moment the mother half sobbed, "Please, can someone help me? She won't stop crying." Aaliyah offered a kind smile. "I can try if you'd like," she said softly. The mother gave a slight, desperate nod. That was all the permission Aaliyah needed. She slipped past the curtain and gently approached. "Hi, I'm Aaliyah," she whispered, keeping her voice calm and soothing. "May I hold her for a moment? Maybe I can calm her down." The mother looked at Aaliyah through exhausted, puffy eyes. There was hesitation, an understandable flicker of worry about handing her precious baby to a stranger, but it was quickly overcome by desperation and a fragile hope. "Okay," the mother whispered, her voice quavering. "Her name is Chloe. Please be careful." "I will," Aaliyah assured. Carefully, she lifted the squirming infant from the mother's arms. Chloe was so light, so small, maybe 6 or 7 months old. The baby's face was hot and damp with tears, her wails ringing in Aaliyah's ears. Immediately, Aaliyah began to gently rock her, swaying side to side in a steady rhythm like she'd done countless times before. "Shh. Hey, sweet girl," she murmured, cradling the back of Chloe's head with a tender hand. "It's okay. You're okay." Chloe didn't calm immediately, but Aaliyah persisted. She softly started humming a lullaby, an old comforting tune her own mother used to hum to her. The melody was low and sweet, and Aaliyah's voice wrapped around the crying child like a warm blanket. Within half a minute, Chloe's shrieks dwindled to whimpers, then to tiny hiccuping sobs. The baby blinked up at Aaliyah, her big eyes glistening as the unfamiliar voice and gentle motion slowly soothed her. A hush fell over the nearby passengers. The businessman who had muttered complaints sank back in his seat, chagrined and silent. The flight attendant hovered nearby, watching, in amazement as this young woman from economy succeeded where others had failed. The baby was not yet content, But the change was significant. Chloe was no longer screaming, just fussing softly in Aaliyah's arms. The mother pressed her hands to her mouth, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, shakily. "Oh, thank you." Aaliyah gave her a small, encouraging smile, but she wasn't finished helping yet. She could feel Chloe still squirming against her, hear the little hungry mewls the baby was making now. The way Chloe nuzzled against Aaliyah's chest in her fussing made the problem clear. The poor baby was hungry and seeking milk. The bottle hadn't worked. Perhaps it was the wrong temperature, or Chloe was used to nursing from her mother directly. Whatever the case, this child needed nourishment and comfort of a kind only a mother would normally give. Aaliyah's heart thudded as a daring thought entered her mind. It was unconventional, practically unthinkable with a stranger, but everything in her body and soul screamed that it was the right thing to do. She glanced at the mother's face, seeing both gratitude and lingering distress there. Could she possibly? Should she even offer something so intimate? She remembered how she had nourished Serafina, how natural and loving that bond was. Even though it had been many months, her body seemed to recall that role, responding now with compassion and an almost physical longing to care for this crying infant. Taking a steady breath, Aaliyah decided. The worst that could happen was the mother would say no, but perhaps this was exactly what little Chloe needed. "Ma'am," Aaliyah said softly to the baby's mother, meeting her eyes earnestly. "I have an idea what might help Chloe, but it's a bit unusual." Heat rose to her cheeks, but she continued gently. "When my own baby would cry like this, it was usually because she was hungry and needed to nurse. I breastfed her." She paused, then before fear could stop her, added, "If you're okay with it, I can try to breastfeed Chloe. I might still be able to, and it might be what she needs right now." The mother stared at her, wide-eyed and speechless, as if she couldn't quite believe what she'd heard. The extraordinary offer hung in the air between them, bridging the two women in a moment of raw vulnerability. The mother's lips parted in shock, but no sound came out. Chloe whimpered in Aaliyah's arms as a hush fell, everyone waiting for the mother's answer. The mother's astonishment lingered only a second before it melted into relief. "Please, if you can, please do," she whispered, giving her consent, with a shaky nod. Without hesitation, the flight attendant handed Aaliyah a soft blanket for privacy. Aaliyah sat down gently beside the mother and draped the blanket over her shoulder. Under the light cover, she guided tiny Chloe to her breast. Her hands were steady, though her heart pounded with nervousness. Almost instantly, Chloe's whimpers turned into the soft, rhythmic suckling of a hungry baby finally finding comfort. Aaliyah exhaled a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. An overwhelming emotion swelled in her chest as she felt the infant latch on. It was a sensation she knew in her bones, after so many months, at once foreign yet utterly natural. Tears blurred Aaliyah's vision. She closed her eyes and imagined it was her own Serafina in her arms once more. A single tear rolled down her cheek, but it was a tear of bittersweet relief. Chloe relaxed completely in her arms, little fingers curling trustingly against Aaliyah's skin. Beside her, the mother watched with hands clasped over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. She never imagined a stranger would go to such lengths for her child. Her baby was safe and content thanks to the compassion of this young woman. In that moment, all the barriers of class and race between them evaporated. They were simply two mothers, bound by an act of extraordinary kindness. All around, nearby passengers had fallen silent, many of them watching with stunned, heartfelt smiles. A few discreetly wiped away tears. The gruff businessman from earlier looked thoroughly humbled, his eyes downcast in shame for his harsh words. What he had deemed an annoyance had been resolved not through anger, but through pure maternal love. After a few minutes, Chloe's eyes drifted closed. She had taken her fill and slipped into a peaceful sleep against Aaliyah's breast. Gently, Aaliyah unlatched the baby and adjusted her blouse. The flight attendant helped remove the blanket, and Aaliyah carefully transferred the slumbering infant back into her mother's arms. She's okay now," the mother murmured, gazing at her daughter's serene face in disbelief. Relief and gratitude overwhelmed her. She looked up at Aaliyah, voice trembling. "I have no words to thank you. You saved my baby. You saved me." Aaliyah gave a humble smile, wiping her damp cheeks. "I'm just glad I could help," she replied softly. "I know how it is to feel helpless when your baby is crying." She hesitated, then added softly, "I lost my own little girl last year. Hearing Chloe cry, I couldn't ignore it." The mother's eyes filled with sympathy as she realized the depth of Aaliyah's empathy. "I am so sorry," she whispered. Overcome with emotion, she reached out and pulled Aaliyah into a hug. Two strangers held each other close, sharing both grief and comfort in that embrace. "Thank you," the mother whispered again, eyes full of gratitude. When they finally pulled back, the mother realized they hadn't even exchanged names. "I'm Emma," she said, offering a watery smile as she held Chloe close. "Emma Lawrence." Aaliyah managed a soft smile in return. "I'm Aaliyah," she replied quietly. By now, both women were smiling through their tears. The flight attendant quietly brought them bottles of water, and Emma took a moment to dab her eyes and adjust Chloe's blanket. After a moment of calm, Emma cleared her throat. "Aaliyah, I want to repay you somehow," she began earnestly. "Anything you need, please. Let me help you like you helped me." Aaliyah shook her head lightly. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "Really? I didn't help to get a reward. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't do something when I could." Emma nodded, understanding, but her determination didn't fade. "I know, and that's exactly why I want to do something. At least tell me, why are you traveling to Seattle?" Finally, Aaliyah admitted, "I'm heading to a job interview, actually, in marketing." She offered a modest shrug. "I'm hoping it will be a new start for me." A surprised smile grew on Emma's face. "Marketing, you say? I own a marketing firm in Seattle," she revealed warmly. "In fact," she added with a soft laugh of amazement, "it's the same firm you're interviewing with. Lawrence & Co. is my company." Aaliyah's eyes widened. She had been preparing to interview at Lawrence & Co., and now she realized she had been speaking with none other than its CEO. Emma's surname clicked in her mind. Emma gently squeezed Aaliyah's hand. "Well," she smiled, "consider the job yours if you want it," Aaliyah gasped, then broke into a grin. "Yes, thank you, yes," she exclaimed, fresh tears of joy brimming in her eyes. Emma laughed softly. "You've earned it, and you have a friend in me now." By the time the plane began its descent into Seattle, the atmosphere around them had completely transformed. The tension and tears had given way to gentle laughter and newfound friendship. A few passengers nearby, having witnessed everything, offered quiet congratulations and kind words to Aaliyah. The flight attendant, in passing, whispered, "You did something amazing today," and gave Aaliyah's shoulder a warm squeeze. When the plane landed, a few passengers broke into soft applause. Aaliyah flushed, unused to the attention, but smiled warmly as people nodded at her with respect. They disembarked together, Chloe still asleep against her mother's shoulder. In the arrival terminal, they exchanged phone numbers and a final, heartfelt hug. "I won't forget your kindness," Emma said, eyes shining. Aaliyah squeezed Emma's hand gently. "Thank you for trusting me," she replied. They knew the bond forged in midair would not end as they went their separate ways. Emma insisted on having her driver take Aaliyah to her hotel, refusing to take no for an answer. Finally, with grateful smiles and promises to keep in touch, the two women parted. Stepping outside into the cool Seattle evening, Aaliyah paused to absorb it all. In the span of a single flight, her world had truly changed. She had overcome fear and grief to help a stranger's child, bridging the gap between two very different worlds and proving that kindness is a universal language. And, as if in reward for her good deed, fate had opened a door to a brighter future. Aaliyah squared her shoulders and lifted her head high. Pride and hope swelled in her chest as she stepped into the night, carrying the memory of her daughter, the friendship of a stranger, and the triumph of courage and compassion. If you were on that plane, would you have encouraged Aaliyah to step in, yes or no, and why? Type courage. If you support what she did, or not okay if you disagree, and give your reason in one sentence. If this moved you, like the video and subscribe to our channel. It will give us motivation for more interesting stories of dignity, justice, and hope. Turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. Stay kind, stay brave, and stay happy.